Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to episode number 827 of NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate ringsidenews.com. Real quick, if you haven't already, make sure you check out episode number 825, which was a special extended edition, 25 minutes of your questions being answered. If you haven't seen it yet, click off this video, go to that video first, watch it, and then come back and watch this episode. Got your questions today regarding Raw and other topics as we get closer to the brand split, which is actually now just a week away. First question today comes from DJ Witty. Yo, Aaron, please answer in video. What was your take on that Rollins Report skit on Raw? Man, face or heel, that guy delivered week after week. Keep up the good work. Real quick before I get to the Rollins segment, a lot of people have been asking me about Shane and Stephanie being the commissioners and why WWE is doing this, why WWE is having both commissioners and general managers. I think for two reasons. Number one, an excuse to get Shane and Stephanie television time. And the other, I think, is because Shane and Stephanie, and Shane in particular, are not going to be on the television shows every single week. I mean, as it is, Shane has missed several editions of Raw, and so has Stephanie. So this way you can have Shane and Stephanie show up whenever there's a major development and they need to show up, or just whenever the McMahons want TV time. Bottom line. Now, regarding Raw and the Seth Rollins segment, he did the mock interview with Roman Reigns, which was a clear copy of Kurt Angle interviewing The Rock about 15 years ago. And yes, it was 15 years ago, so a lot of today's fans are not going to remember that. But at the same time, for us that do remember it, this segment was pretty lame because the Kurt Angle one was just so much funnier and it was well done. And I think that this segment could not hold a candle to that segment. But for what it was alright. It built up the pay-per-view. It was the best WWE could do without Roman Reigns being around, so whatever. I thought the second half of the segment was a lot better, with Dean Ambrose coming out and cutting the promo on Seth Rollins. Dean Ambrose did a tremendous job. That was one of his better promos in WWE, in my opinion. Alright, next question here comes from Devin Clark. Hey Aaron, do you think Roman Reigns is best off being in the mid-card or staying on top? The thing about Roman Reigns is the guy is definitely talented. He's not the most talented guy, but he can perform in big match situations. We've seen it time and time again. He has consistently delivered on pay-per-view in big-time matches, whether it's against Bray Wyatt or even against Big Show last year. We've seen Roman Reigns have one good match after another, and say what you will about the guy, but he can hold his own in the ring. The problem is the character. I think with the right character development and maybe a heel turn or maybe changing his character, with the right character development, Roman Reigns can be a top guy in WWE. So it's not a matter of him not deserving the spot. It's a matter of the character needing to be worked on so fans will accept him in whatever role he's in. This one comes from Carlitos01010. What did you think of the Battle Royal for the #1 contendership for the IC title, and who were you possibly rooting for? I really was not rooting for anybody because it was just a random Battle Royal with a bunch of mid-card guys, and there was really no reason for me to care about anybody. I did notice Darren Young in there right away. Actually, I didn't. What I noticed first was Bob Backlund, and then I realized, oh, Bob Backlund's there, so Darren Young must be in that pile somewhere. The announcers really did not make a big deal out of it until the end of the match when it was clear Darren Young was one of the finalists. I was not a fan of Darren Young winning by fluke. If you're going to go with a guy and make him the #1 contender, let him win it decisively. I mean, essentially, he just fluked his way to victory because the other guys eliminated each other. So I thought that was lame, and Darren Young versus The Miz, I really do not care one way or another what happens in that match. Will that make Darren Young great again by being the IC champion? Probably not. Got this one here from David Golick. David #9. What the hell are they doing with Zack Ryder now? Please help me out here. I wish I could. I really don't know. And I got this other question which ties into that other question from Simon Lee. Will WWE keep pushing Zack Ryder or will they give up on him soon? They gave him new music, and I guess he's the #1 contender for the US title now because Rusev accepted the challenge. Problem is, Zack Ryder lost the match on Raw to Sheamus. And Rusev beat the crap out of him afterwards and said, okay, I'll give you a title shot. So the whole thing's basically a joke. I mean, Zack Ryder in the storyline is clearly not worthy of getting a title shot because he lost and then he got beat up afterwards. But Rusev is giving him the title shot anyways. I really do not know what WWE is doing with Ryder. I mean, he's getting TV time, so I guess for him, that's better than nothing. At least he's doing something, but it's the typical booking of Zack Ryder. He gets the TV time, but he's booked like a complete fool, and in the end, he really goes nowhere. This one comes from Jishnu. Hey Aaron, how would you book superstars like Sheamus and Del Rio who lack in charisma so that they get over with the fans? That is a hard question to answer at this point. With Sheamus, I think he needs to drop the haircut. I think he needs to go back to his old look, go back to his old music. I think the hair change and the beard change and the music change brought him down several pegs. That's just my opinion. Del Rio, I'd like to see Ricardo come back as his personal ring announcer or have a new personal ring announcer. I know there was speculation about Paige possibly being booked into a storyline with Del Rio. I mean, he needs something. You need to give him some kind of storyline. It seems like he's got no real direction at this point. So whether it's Paige or bringing back Ricardo or pairing Del Rio with someone else, he just needs a major storyline. He needs something to sink his teeth into. This one comes from The Real TJP. Final Deletion versus Wyatt Compound. Who did it best? I definitely found the Final Deletion to be more entertaining. I mean, the Wyatt Compound segment was just really hard on the eyes. I mean, they were shaking the camera around, zooming in and out, doing the special effects over the video. The whole thing was just a mess to watch. It wasn't pleasing to the eye. And, you know, I see how WWE was trying to make it like a horror movie, and that's how a lot of horror movies shoot it. They have the shaky camera work, and, you know, they're trying to do everything they can to make it look scary, but it was just not working for me. Some people liked it. I mean, I did a poll on the NoDQ.com Twitter page, and about half of the people liked it. I was not one of those people. I was definitely more entertained with the Final Deletion. The Final Deletion had drones and the boat, so that alone made it better. Wyatt Compound segment was just guys brawling in a field, throwing each other into cars, and then a bunch of guys in sheep masks scaring off the New Day. That's what the segment was. This one comes from Ben Murray. What is going on with Cesaro? WWE isn't doing anything with him. Will this change when the brand splits? World champion? Probably not becoming world champion. I would not expect that. But I think that Cesaro will continue to be one of the upper mid-card guys in WWE. He will have a prominent role, whether it's on Raw or SmackDown. I would be surprised, though, if he becomes world champion. However, Cesaro could very well get there based on past occurrences in WWE when Jack Swagger won the world title, when The Miz won the world title. Those guys got the title opportunities. Maybe Cesaro will. You never know. Alright, this next one comes from Sasha Banks Guy. Do you see Finn Balor and Samoa Joe being drafted to brands during the WWE draft? And is there other call-ups you see happening soon? I would be shocked if Finn Balor does not end up on the main roster next week on either Raw or SmackDown. It just seems like all the signs are pointing to that happening. And it's really time. It's his time to get on the main roster. I mean, you could say that for a number of guys in NXT, but Balor dropped the title recently, and I sense that he will be there on Raw or SmackDown. He's been teasing it forever. Samoa Joe should be there as well, but he's still the NXT champion. WWE may hold off on him a little bit longer, but it's really time for him too. He should definitely be on the main roster as soon as possible. And Nakamura, I could see him being in NXT for a bit longer, maybe another 6 months. He might get a run with the NXT title. That could happen maybe sometime early 2017. Bayley, I could see showing up on the main roster very soon. Maybe not next week, but before the year is over. And American Alpha, I could definitely see them debuting on the main roster next week. This one comes from Owen. Do you like the idea of Big Cass getting a match against Brock Lesnar in the future? Right now it's way too soon, but once Enzo and Cass get their mileage, and I definitely feel they should stay a tag team for a while, maybe a year or two down the line, if Big Cass gets a push and gets over with the fans and becomes a major star, then yeah, that would definitely be a logical match to do, and possibly have Big Cass go over on Brock Lesnar, but it's still a very long way to go before that's going to be a remote possibility. This one comes from Kyle Hartman. What did you think of the idea of a women's Royal Rumble match and the winner co-main eventing WrestleMania? I think WWE should stick with one Royal Rumble match. I think doing two would take away the value from the Royal Rumble. The thing about the Royal Rumble is that it only happens once a year. It's a special attraction match, and I think you should stick to your traditional male Royal Rumble match and not do a second match or replace the men's match with a women's match. I mean, that would be a huge mistake. So I'm not a fan of the idea. I'd rather they do something else, do a tournament, just something different. Don't do a second Royal Rumble. This one comes from Kay. Okay. What do you think they will do with Nikki when she returns? That is an interesting question, because we've seen the women's division transform since she got injured. It's no longer the Divas division. And when she comes back, it's going to be hard for her to really fit in now, because there's such an emphasis on the new talent that came in from NXT. I suppose she could succeed. I mean, she definitely improved during her last run, and maybe there's something left for her to do. She can get back in the mix. She might be able to have a feud with Sasha Banks or Becky Lynch. You know, they could continue that feud. Maybe she could form an alliance with Charlotte. There are possibilities for her if the creative team can figure out something for her. I think that there is a way to fit her in. So I do feel she'll still be a force in the women's division, but will she be women's champion again? I think that would be a mistake. I think it's time to focus on Sasha Banks as champion and work on getting Bayley pushed to the top. I just think Nikki's days at the top are over, but I think there's still a place for her in the women's division. This one comes from Yusuf. What did you think of Mike Tenay as a commentator in WCW and TNA? I liked Mike Tenay when he was the third guy on Nitro, when he was the guy that was the professor, the person who explained all the background information on the competitors. I felt that he was very useful in that role. I felt he was not quite as good as a play-by-play announcer, and in TNA, I felt that him and Don West were not the best team. I found both of them to be annoying at times, but once they were replaced with Josh Matthews and Taz and Josh Matthews and Pope, I mean, that was even worse. Mike Tenay and Don West seemed like Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler. So he was all right. Mike Tenay was good at his job, but I wouldn't say he was the best play-by-play guy. When it came to presenting the inside information and the background information on the competitors, he was really good at it, and he was good as a backstage interviewer. That'll do it for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding the brand split, all the latest rumors. And with that being said, I will see you guys next time for more NoDQ&A video.